Like, I have to have some pretty compelling arguments to spend that money, because if I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to be pissed.
Yeah, I don't think you're working construction if you're wearing steel-toe sneakers.
Oh, come on now.
I agree.
How clumsy are you if you're fucking smacking your ankle bone?
A little bit. And if you actually make a good one, I'll buy a Reebok work boot. I'm not proud at all.
Absolutely.
If it's comfortable and it lasts,
yep,
I'm on it. Because the thing is, man, like, what prompted me to think about it, my boot's been going to shit. And it's not even so much that the boot is in a bad way. I got some scuffs on the toe, obviously, from working for a living, where you can now see the toe underneath, right? The steel or the composite toe or whatever, right? But I mean, the laces are still good, and there's no major cuts, and the fucking sole isn't falling off or anything, right? But when I take the fucking things off, man, that is a terrible, terrible aroma. I have worn them long enough now that you work all day. The stink in that boot, that's in that fucking boot now, right? Yeah. So for me, all right, they could last me another whatever, and I know they have odor eaters and blah, blah, blah. Okay, no, I'm getting ahead of the curve here. I went out this week. I'm like, all right, I need a new pair of boots.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but I've gone in 4 times in a row now that I replaced my boots and just got them to order the exact same pair of boots.
Yeah, I don't change boots.
Okay, see, so that's why.
Actually, this last time I did.
This last time you did. Okay, so this is what I want to get into today.
Yeah.
So anyways, I off on a little tangent early of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, fucking whoa.
Yeah,
whoa,
go ahead,
pump
buddy.
the brakes, man.
I was ahead of myself, folks. I was ahead of myself.
Welcome, everybody, to the Ice Shower After Work podcast. Jason and I are here for you, and if you're in the trades, everything along with the trades and the bullshit and the stories and the fun that we have. And again, we're in for another week, and Jason is across the table from me, having a nice drink, enjoying himself. Jason, how you doing, my brother?
Good, my man. How are you?
Good. How's your week been?
It wasn't too bad this week, buddy. I got through it unscathed, let's say that.
Yeah, see any cool shit?
Nothing really out of the ordinary this week. There was, I don't know if it was exactly cool shit as far as work goes, but I got to tell you, in our area, there's a lot of turkeys, wild turkeys out there.
Oh, yeah.
I know this isn't trade related, folks, but this was this week. I saw a couple of toms out there strutting. They had their tails up. They were showing off, and there was a female off in the distance. I could see a little bit, 15, 20 feet or wherever, and they were making their position. And then all of a sudden, for the people old enough to remember it, it looked like the Tasmanian devil. It was just a blur of feathers and squawking, and they strutted as long as they were willing to strut, and then as soon as they were done, they're like, no, man, I'm going to fuck you up. They got after each other for a couple of minutes, and then one of them scooted off into the woods. I assumed the loser.
I just picture the start of a UFC fight. You know, when the guys are going around in circles and then they just go at it.
Yeah,
that's what I picture in my head.
Except, a UFC fight where instead of circling each other, they're circling some pretty girl they're trying to interest. Like, yeah.
Right.
But that was about the most interesting thing this week. Pretty standard run-of-the-mill.
Right.
Run-of-the-mill. Except for, as I got off on a little tangent there earlier, folks, I needed to buy new boots. I was in the market. I went into my local place, and it made me realize boots are probably the unsung hero of the job site. As soon as mine got uncomfortable, it was time to replace them.
Yeah, my wife is on my ass about it all the time.
About
6 months. Yeah.
What does she care about your boots? Sorry, Ashley, God love you, but why?
She cares about me and my feet and how I feel. And boots are the one item that we are in every day, 10 to 12 hours a day.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I squawked at her long enough because she does office work. She's doing her business. She's sitting down a lot. I squawked at her long enough to buy a good chair to support her because her back. Well, her chair is our boots, right?
Yeah. Okay. I see the comparison. Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So she's like, they have to be replaced every 6 months. And I'm like, I've never gone just 6 months with a pair of boots.
I've definitely pushed it way further than that every single time. Yeah.
Couple years.
Yeah. 6 months after I realized they already should have been replaced. Probably. But
like you said, like they start breaking down and your feet sweat.
Right.
You know,
there's going to be some obvious warning signs, and that's what we're getting into here today, folks. I mean, like, there's times where you can cut corners for tools, right? You can buy some shit hammers if you need to. If you don't use it all the time, you can buy you'll learn what tools you don't need a quality version of because it only comes up once in a while.
Right.
Boots are every day, all day.
Right.
So, and when I saw the cost of the boots that I have, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about today. So I've been with the same brand for quite a while. And when it's time for a new pair of boots, I just go in and I get them to reorder the same set. Hey, here's my name. Here's my phone number. They look me up. Boom. We'll have them on the way. Great.
Right.
Yeah, the price went up a bit, but we've talked. The price has gone up a little bit on everything. But it made me think, are other people out there doing the same thing I'm doing? Once you find a boot you like, you stick with that. You don't look, you don't research, you don't shop. Or are there people who are jumping brands? So you said you have switched recently.
I haven't switched brands. I've switched models.
But you stuck with the same brand.
I absolutely stuck with the same brand that I've worn for the past 15 years.
Here's what I want to get into, buddy. Okay. So obviously, folks, that's what we're going to talk about today. But real quick, before we get going, we just wanted to let you know there is a new feature on the website at isawpodcast.com. If you've been enjoying the podcast and you feel like helping us out, check out the Buy Us a Beer widget that's on the website now. This is a free podcast. John and I are putting it every week. And if you want to show us a little love, that's the easiest way. So check that out. The Buy Us a Beer widget comes up as soon as you go to isawpodcast.com. But that's the biz.
Right.
Get that out of the way.
We'll get the housekeeping done.
Yeah, let's get that out of the way here real quick. Yeah, we're not doing this to make any money, but well,
it does cost a little money.
Yeah, it costs a bit of bucks. You want to help us
we're
out.
happy to do.
Yes, yeah. If you want to help us out, feel free. So the importance of getting the right footwear, man.
Right.
Have you ever made the mistake of going cheap?
I did, and it was when I was first in the trades.
Yeah, I got the same story. Go ahead, man.
Right. So when you're an apprentice, you ain't making a whole lot of money, right? So you're trying to save money on whatever you possibly can. And 9 times out of 10, what I've heard from guys is that exact problem is, well, I have to save some money somewhere. I'm going to save the money on boots, on pants, on shirts, on things that we wear every day. So I went to, when I first got in, the very first set of boots that I wore, and I was doing concrete at the time, not electrical.
Yep.
I bought them from Walmart because that's the money I had, right? They were like $50, $75.
Right.
Like I think they made it a whole month before they blew out. Right. And then I switched over to cat boots. Caterpillars.
Short for Caterpillar. Yeah, we're going to bring up Caterpillar later. Actually, I've got some info on Caterpillar boots. Okay, go ahead.
I was really happy with them for a lot of years. Probably for 4 years, I wore cat boots nonstop. Paid the extra money for them. That was after I got into the electrical trades. So I got the electrical safe soles, non-slip soles, paid the extra money. And then I found Red Wing shoes. And Red Wing boots.
Shout out to Red Wing boots.
And those are the only ones that I have worn for the past 15 years. And it's the same one except for this last set that I bought. I bought the, I can't even remember. It's the part that your tongue on the boot, protecting your upper part of your foot right before your ankle, is thicker. So that's that protection. For if you drop something.
Yeah, you drop something, you kick something you didn't expect to be there. Yeah, I got what you're saying. Yeah, I saw that when I was doing research for this one, buddy.
Yep. So that's the one I switched to, and it's treating me pretty well so far. But
all right. So I have been, for quite a long time, I've been a Red Wing guy. I had the same almost identical experience as you 2 days before I was supposed to start with the union. Saturday evening, I'm sitting around. I'm going over the list of tools they told me I had to have to start, and I realized, holy shit, I don't have steel toe boots. So off to Walmart I go, looking for a cheap. So until I can, and I was old enough getting in the trades, I figure, okay, I'll look around and see what the guys and gals are wearing. Mostly the guys, because that's our comfort level, right? And go, okay, I'll figure it out eventually.
Right.
Same thing with you, man. And not a month, a week and a half in, I'm like, these things fucking suck.
Right.
No offense to Walmart, but their steel toe safety boot brand is not a
don't
fancy,
buy it.
high quality brand, right?
No.
You're going to make mistakes. But I think the point of this week's episode is going to be, this is not the area to cheap out.
Not even close.
Even when you're young, you're on your feet all day. Pick out a good pair of boots. And I think it's great that you brought up Red Wing. I didn't know that you wore Red Wings because you and I don't work together day to day. We only see each other in our regular street clothes, right?
Right.
So when I started researching this, my thought was going to be that we were going to be arguing that level of brand name. I never even thought of some of the brands that came up when I eventually searched what are the best work boot brands, right?
Yep.
In my head, I'm thinking Red Wing, I'm thinking Irish Setter, I'm thinking Keen.
Yeah.
Common ones we see all the time. The same boot on 50 feet on every job site.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But when I looked it up, I was surprised to see that not only did most of those brands not make the top lists of most comfortable, most economic, most whatever for your particular item,
Yep.
but it was brands that, except for a couple, I'd never even heard of.
Yeah, me either.
Right. So that's what
It's
kind of threw
insane.
me about this, right? So we're talking on one level. And again, shout out to Red Wing. I like Red Wing boots. Just this week, I ordered another pair and then did the research for this episode. So now I'm stuck with those probably,
Yeah.
unless I decide to make a major change. But what I wanted to first get into is the change part that I just asked you about.
Yep.
It seems like most people are probably going out and buying the same boot they did over and over, because if you know something's comfortable, you're not going to want to switch. Why would I want to test something else out and spend 2 or 3 weeks realizing, well, that was a mistake, and being uncomfortable?
Right.
So
Yep.
it's not as passionate as people are about trucks and tools, but people are really brand specific. They're just usually not as vocal with someone unless they ask.
Right.
Right? If I ask a guy, hey, what do you think of your boots? He'll give me his opinion about it, but they're not forward and like, hey, listen, you got to get a set of these. These are the fucking tits. You don't
Right.
hear that on job sites. So
No.
what do you think is going to be the biggest hang up for most people for trying a different set of work boots?
It's just what you said. It's that unknowing, because we spend so much fucking time on our feet, man, that the importance we put on our boots is such a high level that we don't want to be uncomfortable. And if I change boots now, if I change to another brand and I'm spending $200-$300 on that brand of shoes, because a good pair of work boots cost $200 to $300.
Correct.
Right.
I'll be honest, with a new set of insoles, and I bought a Red Wing baseball cap just to add to the baseball cap collection, it was $300.
Yep.
Yep.
My last set was $311.
Yep.
Right. In order for me to make that jump, like, I have to have some pretty compelling arguments to spend that money, because if I'm uncomfortable, I'm going to be pissed. I'm going to be pissed that I'm uncomfortable for 8 to 10 hours of wearing these boots, 10, 12 hours. Some guys, 16, we've certainly done 16, 18 hour shifts.
Right.
If I'm uncomfortable for that long, plus I wasted that money, because now that's all I can think about while I'm just
Right.
super pissed off, I just I don't want to do that. So I'm going to stick to what I know. I'm going to stick to the brand that I know.
And also, I mean, like, yeah, we do a little bit of dirt work and whatnot, but a lot of electrical work is inside on stable surfaces.
Yep.
We got to factor in the guys and gals out there who are never on iron workers, concrete, like lots of people are in the fucking muck all the time, and they have a completely different need in their day-to-day boot than what we really need.
Right.
A little bit of waterproof and thermal and things help us. But I mean, we can be honest. A lot of the electrical work is in pretty okay environments. And we've mentioned before, some trades are never in a good environment.
Right.
They need a totally different kind of boot, whether it's comfort or safety or whatever it is, right? So,
And even when I spent half the year outside in the dirt and in the weather and the muck and the shit, and I never changed my boots. I wore the same boots.
Right.
It was still all the Red Wing boots that, but you hit a good point there. And I think people need to realize that if you're getting into a certain trade, do your research, because there are specific boots that are designed for your specific trade.
right, which is something that I was going to bring up.
Yep.
So, you can go on the internet, as we've talked about so many times, and find a million different answers of how you do something. But with a little research this week, I actually found out on, as simple as it sounds, folks, workboots.com. They have a really great feature of how to choose a work boot that takes you through everything from the toe type that you need, the material, what kind of extra guards you need if you're doing welding or you're doing heavy steel, the leathers that they use, if it's a synthetic material. They really do break everything down of what would be best for your particular needs. So if you do want to check it out, we'll try to put it up on the social medias. It's a really comprehensive thing here on the workboots.com, which again, it's so simple, it's obvious, right?
Right.
When I searched it and it came up, I'm like, well, of course that's what it's fucking called.
Right.
They don't seem really biased on one brand or another. They don't have, from what I can tell, any real advertisements. They do talk about some specific boots that are kind of top of their class or whatever. But yeah, picking the boot is the hardest thing. So if someone was getting new into the trades or thinking about making a switch because their footwear they're never happy with it, check that out. It actually is a pretty good resource of how to figure out what would work the best for you.
Does that website, Jason, give you anything for the women in the trades?
It does differentiate between the two, yes.
Yep. And that is important.
And I can't say so much from the perspective of the women in the trades, but it does base things on weight and body stature, which close enough.
Right, close enough.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, you can make because from what I saw, and I know this is going to get a little detailed here, but give me a sec, folks. If you continue to listen, you're going to realize we talk about these things sometimes. When I noticed the things that were for people of a smaller stature, it was a bigger change in the sole of the shoe or what the insole was than the actual construction of the rest of the boot.
Yep,
You know
they
what I'm
tend to be
saying?
a little bit softer.
Yeah, right. All the exterior materials and stitching and things seemed to be the same, but it was a slightly softer material that gave them a little more cushion because it didn't have to take 200 pounds versus 140 or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. Not to say all women are smaller, but you know what I'm fucking saying.
Yeah.
We're not splitting hairs here.
Hey,
right?
there's even some guys that are $140, $150.
You know, exactly. Yeah. No, that's why I said it was more about the stature of the person versus male versus female. Yeah,
We call those apprentices, and those guys are the ones getting in the small holes.
The skinny jean posse, as we've seen sometimes. I've mentioned before. God, I hate seeing skinny jeans.
So anyway, we digress.
Yeah. So as I said, I made the mistake of going cheap before, but we can now agree that it's something that it's worth putting the money into.
It is so important. I can't stress enough. And the older I've gotten, the more importance I've put on it. Like,
oh, the comfort day to day on the job?
Yeah.
Sure. And if we were smart, maybe we'd point out right now, that should be for everybody in your career. Start early thinking about your back and your knees and your hips.
Yep.
Buy a tool bag with wheels. Buy a good set of boots. That's what we're getting at here. If you think ahead early and not late like John and I,
Right.
Sorry to step on you, buddy, but yeah, you're on it. You're on it.
100%.
Yeah.
So, when I was thinking about this episode and looking into things, across the brands, it doesn't seem like there's much of a difference of construction of a work boot. They're all usually leather. They all usually have the same type of soles, i.e. slip resistant,
right?
Electrical resistance, the composite toe, steel toe. They're all generally made the same.
Right.
So I wish I had more information on it, because you can't find, nobody's going to put out, so this boot breaks down in X amount of months.
Right. And, so I did do a little bit of digging in, okay? What you say is absolutely right, because not the only, but a lot of negative comments that you'll see on a particular product when you're trying to look at reviews, how do you know what that person does for a living?
Right.
They'll say they're in this portion of the construction industry. Well, that might mean that they're a project manager out there and they got a blister on their foot because their new work boots didn't get a chance to work in because they only wear them one day a month when they're doing job site visits, right? Like, you got to think of the big picture here, right? Was that some jackass? But as I mentioned earlier, I was surprised at the things we talked about. So we both are, obviously, we're Red Wing guys. But you mentioned Caterpillar earlier. I looked up a basic search, okay? And it came from Gear Junkie, who we've used in the past. They seem to be fairly fair when it comes to what they're promoting. Right. They went through a variety of different things as far as the best overall work boot, the best for the value, the best for this, the best for that, okay?
Yep.
If you go to Gear Junkie and check this out, they give you the top 10 of 2024. Caterpillar was number 1 and 2.
Yep.
And not only was Caterpillar number 1 and 2, which Caterpillar wasn't one of the ones on my list when I was thinking of what we were going to talk about today, even though now that it came up, I'm like, well, of course Cat makes boots, right? It was the fact that I had to go all the way down. I'm going to go past this. I'm going to go past that. We'll get back to these ones later. I had to go down to number 7 on the list to get down to a Keen boot.
Oh, really?
That I'd ever even heard of. The one that they had before it, they were those short boots that are made of composites. That's for project managers, right? But that was the one that also was the most cost effective.
Right.
Let's call that the cheap boot. Okay.
See, in the list that I found on Pro Tool for best boots, is Keens were number 1 and 2.
Keens. So that shows you, right? You can look on the internet and find whatever you want, right? So it's tough that's what I was getting at. It's tough to research these things because you can go to 2 different websites, get 2 totally different things.
Right. But what was so funny, Jason, I don't know if you realize this, Red Wing was never on the top of the list on all the lists I looked at ever.
Right.
Not
now,
one.
Admittedly, they probably are slightly more popular where we're from here in the Midwest because
they're made here.
It's a local company here. So that might be part of the reason between that and Irish Setter, right? Like, I know it's not a local. It's not a local company, but they're the
Irish Setter owns, right. Or Red Wing owns Irish Setter.
Owns Irish Setter, right? Yeah. So they're the same probably quality standards, give or take.
Yep.
But what really struck me when I started looking through the best of lists was not only the fact that there was quite a few brands that I just had simply never even heard of. So as an example, like obviously we've heard of Keen and all that, but I had heard of Thorogood, but they wouldn't have been in my mind when I was going to search for new ones, right? But we know people who've worn Thorogood boots or whatever, right? So those things are certainly going to come up. But they're like things like Danner, which is more of a leather company.
Yep.
But since they're a leather company, they obviously make boots as well.
Yep.
They had a couple of the real safety-minded ones with the ones with the big tongue across the top.
Yep.
You see them a lot with welders and ironworkers or whatever. Yep. They were the best of that safety toe category. But I digress to the fact that it was what surprised me. 5 of the top 10 that came up on most of my lists, regardless of what brand they said was their belief in the top 5, were less expensive than what I just spent on my boots this week.
Right. Right.
And that's what puts me in the spot of, how do you just decide all of a sudden, you know what, I'm going to take a fucking chance and buy a different brand that is rated.
Just be okay with spending the money twice, just in case.
But what if that's the problem, right? What if they're great? Like, we don't do that, most of us.
Right.
You find a boot you like and you stick with it. I was just trying to wonder, so if anyone's out there and they have switched brands recently, or they're willing to do that fairly often to try to find the most comfortable boot, man, how do you work up the nerve to do that? Like, I know my boots are comfortable now. I don't want to be uncomfortable for a few weeks finding out I fucking hate them.
Right.
So if you've done this recently, or if you got a story about it, send it to us on the socials. You know where they're at. If you can't find them, go to isaw.com. You can find them all. Or isawpodcast.com, pardon me.
Right. The one on my list that actually surprised me the most, Skechers.
You had a Skechers come up in your list.
Okay, construction shoe.
This is going to put... Okay, we're going to come back to that. This is something I was going to bring up later, okay? Keep in mind, so you saw Skechers construction screw... We've been recording for a while today, folks, so I'm tripping over my words. I'm going to slow down. You saw a Skechers construction shoe, is how an adult would say it. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Construction shoe, that's the particular words I'm thinking about here, all right?
Yep.
So there's obviously that stuff, but we could probably both agree that a quality brand name that you've heard of is certainly going to be better than the piece of shit off-brand that we talked about earlier at Walmart.
Yeah. No, don't go to Walmart.
Right. We're touting, spend a couple bucks, buy a quality pair. You're in them every day, right?
Yep.
I realize they're expensive. We get it, right?
Right.
But it seems like an easy place to cut a corner. If you're out there listening and you're new in the trades, you're getting in the trade, don't cut corners.
Don't fucking do it. Not on your boots.
Talk to a couple people you work with on your job sites and go, hey, listen, I bought a piece of shit set of boots because that's what I could afford at the time. Don't be proud. Admit what's going on. They'll be happy to go, hey, listen, these are what I've had and these ones sucked, and you just listen to who you want to trust and listen to. Like,
I tell you what, I might be finding a set of these Skechers, man. They're pretty sick. They're steel toe and they're actually shoes. Like, I just might do that.
All right. I said later, but you're going to put me on the spot. Okay.
You should buy these for because you do service work.
Hold on. Here's the deal, okay?
I just might.
If it says, and this is the quote that I kept finding on multiple websites, okay? They called it an athletic work shoe.
Okay.
We would say safety toe sneaker probably in the field. You know what we're talking about, folks, right? It looks like a pair of Skechers, as John said, or Reeboks or whatever. Right. You can tell they're a little fatter than they're supposed to be. They probably have some sort of safety toe in them or whatever, right? Unpopular opinion for the day. I don't think that's real construction footwear. If they're sneakers, if they look like sneakers, if they don't call them a work boot, if it's something with the word shoe in it, I mean, if you're a project manager and you're out there one day a month, okay, sure. Not hating on project managers, right? If that was a switch out in the trunk of your car because you had to have steel toes in the job, no problem. But working every day, I don't know if I can. Yeah, I don't think you're working construction if you're wearing steel toe sneakers.
Oh, come on now. If you're now, our boots are heavy, right? Who wouldn't want to wear a lighter shoe? right?
The lighter shoe is okay. So great. Here's my problem. All right, let's get into it. Fine.
Let's fucking bring it.
All right, let's get into it. Okay. Here's my problem, buddy. In the same way that, with all due respect to the UPS workers and the United States postal workers who deliver all my mail and packages,
Sure.
I have trouble respecting you if you can wear shorts to work. I'm the same way with this sneaker thing. If your steel-toed footwear for your job site can be sneakers, man, are you really in construction? Like, really?
Look, is there anything really saying that you have to wear fucking boots on a job site?
No, you have to have the proper
You have
protective
to have
footwear.
safety toe shoes.
Yep, sure.
Right.
I'm not arguing that.
So, yes, if you're doing the things, and I don't know, I'd be willing to try them. Like, why not? Because there are days that if I have my boots and I'm up and down a ladder and shit all day, like, it hurts. Even with my nice expensive boots, right? They hurt. But I know that I could jump on a ladder and shit like that, or kneel down in a sneaker and not have that issue. Dude,
See,
come on, man.
listen, man, look, God love you. We're obviously friends because we started this podcast together. I would make fun of you on the job site for that.
And I would probably gladly take that heat. Now, I've seen guys on a job. Okay, here's what I would offer, right? I would be willing to try this just to try it, see how they are, see what kind of quality they are, right? I always want a little bit of ankle support out of my boots. I buy the tall boots.
If I may, that's why I always have to order mine in advance, because I like the taller boot too. I like an ankle, and they don't keep those in the stock. Okay?
Right.
I'm with you.
So having some of these as tennis shoes on jobs, if I'm going to be a foreman and I don't have to actually do the work anymore, like fucking calm down for a fucking minute. If I'm a foreman and I don't have to put my tool belt on, but I have to run around the job site and stuff, I'm buying sneakers. Because I don't have to actually go up ladders very much. I don't have to do intensive shit. I'm buying steel-toed sneakers if I'm going to be a foreman full-time, right? Why not? The problem I have is the motherfuckers that come onto a job site, PMs, engineers, investors, architects, customers, inspectors. You guys come onto a goddamn job site that is required to have safety toe shoes, and you're wearing Vans, and you're wearing your loafers. I want to drop something on your foot just intentionally.
Yeah, we have that sort of attitude. So
buy a sneaker.
That's partially where I'm at with the sneaker thing, though, right? If it's the sneaker style, okay, and the fact that I'm even saying sneaker, talking about what is work boots.
Sorry, construction shoe.
Yeah, right. See, that's sanitary engineer for janitor, right? It's fancying up the fucking sneaker that has a steel toe that don't protect your ankle.
Well, no.
Then it's not a fucking work boot. Not even your ankle bone is protected. That's not a work boot, man.
No, it's not a boot. It's a shoe.
While John and I take a quick coffee break during this episode, we want to take a minute to shout out this week's sponsor, Steve Crispy Crisp, from the Buy Us a Beer app on our website at isawpodcast.com. John and I would like to personally thank you for sponsoring this week's episode and helping the podcast to grow. From all of us at the I Shower After Work podcast, thank you, Crispy. And
why wouldn't you?
That's why exactly because of that. That's why I'm saying, even if I wasn't carrying tools every single day like you just talked about, okay? Right? I'm running this particular job. I'm not physically with my belt on. I'm running around. I'm keeping people going, okay?
Right.
Man, you can still get fucking banged in the ankle with something. You can still trip over material you were trying to step over.
Well,
the simplest form of protection of a work boot after your toe and the bottom of your foot is your ankle, and you can't even get that out of that goddamn sneaker.
And I can't even argue with you that point. I can't argue that point,
I'm
but
sorry. I know it's unpopular opinion. I can't respect it. I'm sorry.
Have you looked at the work boots? And they're actually called boots, but they're a high top boot, but they actually look and weigh of a construction shoe. Have you looked at them?
Let's call them construction Chuck Taylors for anybody old enough to remember a Chuck Taylor.
Yeah, I call them more of a hiking boot.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Right.
The hiking boot, the 4 to 5 inch Not
Right.
super high, but covers your ankle bone. I got you.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's totally fine.
Just because it doesn't cover the fucking ankle bone. Jesus.
Answer me this, okay? How many times, and you're not wearing work boots, right? You're in your own time.
Yep.
It's the foot version of the funny bone when you smack one of those protruding ankle bones. You more know what we're talking about, right? The round bone right at the
Yeah.
How many times have you fucking banged that on something and go, "Ugh."
Probably less than 3 times in my life.
Well, I'm doing work at home, I guess, wearing sneakers, and I've made the mistake of doing it then. That could be what it is, right? I agree.
How clumsy are you if you're fucking smacking your ankle bone?
A little bit. I agree with your sentiment because I will admit now, after I said that, in my own home, when I'm doing my own stuff, I'm wearing a pair of goddamn sneakers. Adidas Cloud Foam 2.0s.
Yeah, okay.
That don't protect my ankle. They got no steel toe.
But you're doing work on your own house.
What you're saying is right. They're certainly more comfortable for moving around day to day, but I'm not talking about working in my house. I'm talking about a real, live, functioning construction site.
I wear my boots when I work at home.
I
put on my work boots.
I will sometimes come home and get into work and leave them on because it keeps my mind in sort of work mode.
Yeah.
I've left the button-up work shirt on many times because I'm still in work mode. I'm going to get a bunch of shit done, and when I take my boots off,
and I'm done.
That's the end of the day. We can all agree on that. Okay.
Yep.
Now, 2 things. I don't even know where to start with the 2 of these because I'm as passionate about both of them. All right, so we're still talking about work boots, okay? Check it out, folks. It's really not super easy to look up on the internet. You might need to dig in a touch. But the Milwaukee Tool Company has recently released a line of work boots and, as we mentioned earlier, like athletic work shoes. They got a whole different line. They're selling them like it's Yeezys or something, right? It's actually kind of disgraceful. But when you look at the price of them and all that, look it up, see what they got going. We'd love to put it up on socials, but we're going to get blasted for it if we do, so we can't. But look up Milwaukee Tools new boot and shoe line, and then try to find the prices. Good luck with that.
Right.
You might find some of them. You're going to be surprised at how high they are, but maybe not because it's Milwaukee.
Have they actually done a full release on them yet?
They haven't done a full release yet. That's why it's kind of hard to find prices. I dug in a little bit and found some things that, if it's even remotely close, which the internet's fairly close sometimes, if they were half right, they're still pretty overpriced. But anyway, sounds a little bougie. I know people out there are going to tell us, well, it sounds right up the electrician's alley. Even for me, man. No, fuck all that. That's crazy talk.
Look,
That's not the problem, though, right? I talked to you about the problem. You were the one who brought it up about the other boot company.
Right.
There's already a leather company from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, called the Milwaukee Boot Company.
Oh, shit, there is. I just pulled them up.
They do leather jackets and vests and coats. They're a leather company, but they also have a full line of boots, and they have for years and years and years and years and years and years. And the fact that people at Milwaukee didn't take 5 seconds to look up, John's face says it all right now, that they didn't look that up to realize that when you search Milwaukee boots, it's not going to the Milwaukee Tool Company. It's going to the been in business for, I'm going to guess, at least 50 years, if not more, Milwaukee Leather and Boot Company.
Right.
Spelled the same way, same country.
Milwaukee Boot Company.
Same city, right? So anyways, shout out to the people of Milwaukee for not catching that.
Boy, you guys are idiots.
You needed to call them something cleverly different.
Yeah.
You're going to have to make a change there. And when you do, well, we've got it on recording here that we had the idea that you missed that, so
wow.
We'll reach out.
Holy shit. And okay. Okay, you said your unpopular opinion. I'll tell you mine right now.
Please.
Milwaukee Tool Company creating a line of boots. Look, motherfuckers, you've officially taken it too far.
Stick to your lane.
Yep. Keep in your fucking highway. Leave the boots alone. You fucking idiots.
Stay in your lane.
Like,
okay, battery operated, like hoodies and vests. I got a battery operated hoodie. I'm not proud at all. Okay, you went into clothing because construction clothing, sure.
Oh, and it's electrical. It has.
Yep, good on you.
It's a tool. Fantastic.
But boots, man.
Stay the fuck out of the boot realm.
Yeah, stay in your lane. I suspect this release, quote unquote, is going to be a massive failure. It might be worth paying a couple of bucks to get a pair of these because you might be able to sell them on the internet in 2 years for a bunch more money because I don't think this is going to survive.
Probably not. The first leather tannery for the city of Milwaukee opened in 1842. And that's for the Milwaukee Boot Company.
Go. Okay. we obviously know, we talked about in the tool episode, Milwaukee's been around a long time as far as making tools, but they're just getting into the boot game, and you should have fucking known better. But anyways, we'll move on from that. That's my fault. A little tangent there, folks.
However,
all right. What's however?
For some reason, I feel kind of strong about this.
Are you looking at them?
The Milwaukee Boot Company has the same logo as the Milwaukee Tool Company.
No, there's a little gray area on the internet because both exist. So there's some occasions where they overlap a little, where you'll search one, get the other, get one symbol, see the other.
Yeah.
Right? There's a little overlap, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
It gets...
Oh, sorry. The Milwaukee Tool Company is a lightning bolt underneath Milwaukee.
Oh, fancy.
That's the fucking difference. Whatever. All right. Anyway, I digress. But stay out.
Yeah, look it up on the internet. They're again, I said
Jesus
Yeezys
Christ.
earlier. It looks like a shoe display at the goddamn Foot Locker. The Milwaukee guy may as well be wearing stripes like a Foot Locker employee, dressed like a ref, right? It's really...
I saw that display.
It's
It's just like, fuck, come on.
It's really disgraceful.
Jesus Christ. What's your take of the other, what I consider a very, very important part of the work boot is insoles. What's your take on that?
Listen, this is going to be an episode full of unpopular opinions here, right? And if you disagree with anything we said today, or you have an opinion, please reach out. You know what all the socials are. We've said it a million times. If not, find them on their website, isawpodcast.com. Are they a waste of money? I have had insoles that felt fantastic. I've had insoles that didn't feel like they were doing anything, or made my foot just simply feel crushed into the boot.
Right.
This past winter, I knew I was working on the roof a couple days. I went out and finally invested a couple bucks in those rechargeable, remote control operated warm insoles, right? Yeah, they warmed my foot up a bit. Yep. It wasn't like I thought it was. It actually wasn't even as good in my opinion. And I won't shout out the brand because that'd be unfair. But I bought some Cabela's. It was the fact that they were so thick because of the technology they need within the insole that it then now felt like my foot was stuffed into my boot. It was uncomfortable.
You know you're supposed to take out the other one that's in your boot, right?
I did. No, I did. Yeah. You motherfucker. Like, yeah.
Just say it.
I said earlier, John likes to simplify me sometimes. Yes, I did take the other insole out before I put that
before
one in.
Somebody else busts your chop.
Right.
I'll bust
And they're going to still. No, I did do that. But even then, they were just that much thicker that it was kind of stuffing into my boot.
Right.
But back to just a regular insole. I try to get them. Sometimes they feel good. Sometimes they don't. But after a few weeks, are you really getting the benefits?
I find...
That's my question.
I'm sorry.
Are they worth the money? That's my unpopular opinion. Are they really fucking worth the money?
Yeah, I think they are. I personally think they are. I buy a new set of insoles directly every time I buy a new pair of boots.
Right, but you said earlier, so we didn't really exactly specify. Maybe let's bring that up real quick. Okay, sorry to step on you, buddy. No, How long on average do you think you keep a pair of boots before you replace them?
Way too long.
Yeah, but give me a ballpark number.
Anymore now, it's 8 months probably.
Jesus, that is fucking quick.
Yeah, and I try to, and a lot of that is my wife. She's pushed me into, and I've seen a huge difference. I really do try to keep it to 6 months now.
Really?
Yeah, I buy 2 pair of boots a year.
Because I'm like a year and a half, probably.
Yeah, I know guys that will buy 2 pairs of boots at one time and wear them every other day, and get
them worked in, get them comfortable. Yeah.
And then that's the whole life of their boot is they switch back and forth, which I think is kind of fucking weird, but okay. But
again, though, we admitted earlier, there's trades that it's a way more important thing. It's important for every construction worker, but there's some trades that it's even more important to have a comfortable boot. And if that boot loses a sole or the tongue tears out, have a backup pair because you're going to be right back at it tomorrow.
Right.
They don't care your boots aren't worked in.
No.
Right?
No, they don't give a shit. Right. There's been times that my boots have fallen apart and I've worn my my riding boots to work. God, that's uncomfortable. Oh, fuck, they are not made for that. But they're steel toes.
But they're steel toes, yeah. I admit I haven't had to do that, but yes, I have gotten to the end of the day and been amazed that the sole didn't fall off a few times, yeah. I
have too, and that was years ago. But here recently, for probably the past couple of years, I've tried to, and I keep bucking it with my wife, but I have gotten better going every 6 months.
Well, good on you. Maybe I should think about doing that, or at least, because the reason I mentioned that was... even if you keep your boots longer like I do. Like I said, I figure I'm around 18 months now.
Yep.
Every year and a half, I got to get a new pair of boots. Right?
That's how mine was. Yes, absolutely.
But I think according to the letter of the law, just like with your air filter and your furnace at home or whatever, you're supposed to be changing those every 6 months minimum anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they say. That's actually the suggestion.
And that's going to be my question to everybody for this week. If you reach out about nothing else at 507-607-ISAW or send us an email, text message, whatever, let us know. How long are you keeping a set of boots, and are you keeping them a little too long? Are you replacing your insoles during the life of your boot, or you just buy a new pair when you get a new pair of boots? Like I admit, that's probably what I do. I don't replace my insoles as I go.
I don't either.
The insoles that I buy, but you just said too, you're wearing yours 8-9 months.
Right.
I'm double that at least.
Yep.
And
but
I'm
I'm
never changing one.
I never have. I mean, when I was running, because I've pushed boots to 2 years. I never replaced the insoles.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I was getting at. Even then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell us what you're doing out there. How often you're doing this? How often you replace them? Because we really are kind of curious.
And that's part of us not taking care of ourselves. Let's voice that.
Right.
Like, we in construction, we don't take care of ourselves. And that's just another fucking part that we just don't do. And we should, right?
Don't go to doctors and dentists and everything as much as we should. It seems to be,
pretty common.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty common in construction. That's for sure, man. Now, I have a radical idea that when I first brought it up, seemed crazy to me. But in retrospect, maybe not. So hear me out here for a sec. I have an idea that I was hoping to put out into the world there, and if you have an opinion on it, please let us know. They spend massive amounts of money, I think we can all admit, on making shoes for professional athletes. Between the development of a shoe for an athlete across many different sports, and obviously the shoes are different amongst the different sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
They spend all the money developing that and researching it and promoting it and all that. And the amount of professional athletes that exist in the world versus the amount of construction professionals that do. Right. Obviously, there's massively more construction professionals working every day, right?
Yeah.
Let's have one of these companies like Reebok or Nike or whatever take a year, spend all that money, and make the greatest, most comfortable, most effective work boot that has ever been, and sell that to us.
I'll beta test that.
You might not be able to sell them for the same dollar figure that you can upsell some of these fancy athlete sneakers or whatever.
Right.
But I'll tell you, if they're comfortable and they work, you're going to sell way more of them.
Sell a shit ton. Absolutely.
If you can make one that's perfect for football, digging into the dirt, getting after it, seems like a real simple jump to me to go from that to construction. And if you actually make a good one, I'll buy a Reebok work boot. I'm not proud at all.
Absolutely.
If it's comfortable and it lasts, I'm on it.
Yep. And I'll put it right out there. I just said it a minute ago. I will beta test the shit out of it.
Yes. Absolutely. If somebody actually listens to this and gives that a try, let us know. Yep. Because I don't think there is a need to, I understand they're making money and athletes sell shoes and, jerseys and shit, right?
Right.
But we buy regularly, depending on the trade you're in, between 6 months, 9 months, a year, every couple of years. Man, we're buying new boots all the time.
All the time.
Way more than kids are buying sneakers. Yes, lots of kids are buying these fancy sneakers, right?
Right.
But it's from the high end of you're making good money in the trades to you're on the low end. I just got in. I'm just starting to cut my teeth. Sell us a good work boot and you'll sell millions of them.
Right.
Just saying, folks. I know it's crazy talk, but they never care about stuff like that. But something for the working class people in this country, in Canada, and the world.
I think what might stop them, because I don't think they can figure out how to make a waterproof boot. I've never seen any of those companies make a waterproof anything.
I would have to think that there is a division within these companies. So hear me out here, okay? This is a much smaller market, right? But these companies that are making, let's say, a ski boot for people in the Winter Olympics.
Yeah.
Those boots are waterproof. They have the technology to transfer over to other style.
Oh, there you go. Deep dive into that conversation.
All the sports, right? I'm not just talking about basketball and football and baseball or whatever, right? But think about all the small technical parts that they make for other sports. They have developed the technology for that, and that was a real specific small one. If you talked about like cross-country skiing or something, right? Where they made...
Right.
That's a small market. I'm talking about maybe the biggest market in North America and the world, possibly, of day-to-day construction workers who need it comfortable, possibly waterproof, possibly thermal, possibly slip. Come on, sports companies.
Right.
Diversify.
Got to be able to do it somehow.
Diversify. Help us out here. So one last, and this seems to be the whole episode of unpopular opinions here, okay? I promise I'm not going to say anything more negative after this. Along with my comment earlier about the athletic work shoe and not being a big fan of being able to do your job in your shorts. I know I'm going to take a bunch of heat about that. But one last kind of opinion here that if you've got something you want to say about it, please let us know. If you don't have to wear a safety toe of some kind, and John and I never brought it up, people always talk about steel toe, but as electricians, we wear a composite toe because we want it to be non-electrically conductive and things like that, right? If you're not wearing a steel or composite toe, are you really in construction?
Wait a minute.
Why did you give me that funny look?
The fucking electricians wear composite toes? Mine are steel toes. And they're still electrically safe.
Some of them are.
What?
Some of them are.
Fucking.
They not advertise.
Come on, man.
They sell. Now listen, dude. Here, if it is reasonably close to the same protective level between a composite toe, which I will now say, since John said he wears steel and he's giving me shit here, okay? That's fine. Fuck you.
Fuck you a little bit.
I wear a composite toe, okay? If it is...
And it's composite.
That reminds me of something I'm going to bring up here in a sec. I got a message from a listener this week about just what you said. One of those two things, okay, I like my particular version of what John just corrected me on the pronunciation on, and steel toe, which isn't always steel.
Right.
If they offer a very similar form of protection, you will at least admit that for the most part, a composite toe is lighter.
Hey, that's 100%
You
lighter.
were the one earlier talking about having a lighter shoe when you were trying to back up the bullshit claim of maybe you'd wear a athletic work shoe.
It's a construction shoe.
Construction shoe, right? Yeah. You were trying to back it. One of your arguments was lighter, more comfortable, right?
Yes.
If
I just haven't switched over.
If a composite toe gives me more,
yep.
Okay. If it gives me the same protection when a lighter boot, and I'm wearing them 8 to 10 to 12, whatever hours a day.
And they're the quarter of the weight.
Right. Across the trays, right? They're a quarter of the weight.
Right.
Now, it sounds like a small amount in the whole weight of the boot. Every ounce makes a difference when you're dragging that shit around all day, and then you get a bit of mud on it. Or you're a concrete guy and you got another 5 ounces of concrete mud and dust and shit. So, okay.
Right.
Now, you mentioned the composite versus composite thing. Todd, if you're listening, Todd, whenever you criticize us, folks, we're going to not be proud. We're always going to bring it up. Todd sent me something this week, and I'm going to criticize you a bit, but I'm going to start with saying, Todd R., thanks for listening, buddy. He sent me a message this week saying, why do some of the things that you say sound funny? And that was the entirety of the message.
That was it?
Todd, when you're listening, buddy, and for everybody else who's out there, you haven't listened to all the episodes because you would understand why, and that's okay. We hope you go back and listen to them eventually. I am not from wherever you're from. You didn't mention where you're from, but I'm going to assume it's somewhere in the United States. I'm from another country, and I do pronounce the occasional thing slightly different.
Why do some things sound funny?
Why do some things sound funny?
He's focusing on you and not how I talk, because I don't talk good either.
And that leads me to believe that that's why I said it. Is Todd R. is probably an American. So God love you, Todd. Thank you for listening. Keep listening. But that's why, man. I'm not from here. Go back and listen to some previous episodes. I'm Canadian who has transplanted here in the last 15 years. Occasionally, I will say things slightly different, like composite and composite. Okay.
And Jason and Todd, just so you know, Jason has had to slow himself down in talking. I can understand him. He speeds up when we're off, when we're off the mics and we're having our simple conversations. He speeds up a lot, and so be happy he does that here. Otherwise, you want to be able to understand much.
For anybody who listened to the Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas episode, they probably heard some of that.
Yeah. Probably.
Yeah, I got a little tuned up on that one if you haven't listened to that, folks. And the fast Canadian talk came out. It's not that you talk slow here in the Midwest, but you're sort of in the middle. And yeah, You make a good point, buddy.
Yep. But
Which is why once in a while, folks, I'll stop myself and go, that's how an adult would say it, because I get into that quick talking, zip, zip, zip Canadian mode. So,
right.
but yeah, that's why, Todd, just so you asked, shout you out. Thanks for listening, buddy. But yeah, I'm not from the United States, so some things I say will sound funny to you.
So, on the fact of your composite toe and your steel toe or whatever, like, I'm willing to take a little heat. Like,
Lay it on me. Lay it on me. Go ahead.
If you don't have to for your job and you consider yourself in the trades, are you really in construction?
Right, no, that's what I said a minute ago, right? Yeah.
Right.
They say you just got up to where I was at. I did say that a second ago. I'm glad we're back at the same point, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, is it real?
If you don't,
I think I'm with you on this.
Right. If you don't have to wear some sort of, if your footwear doesn't have a protective shield over your toe, are you really in construction? Because we know people who can go into work at let's admit that towards the tail end of a construction project.
Right.
You're putting in shelving, displays, depending on what you're building, furniture. The last thing.
Yeah, everybody's gone, and you're kind of making it ready for the customer.
You're the last step before people walk in criticizing how you set up their office space and their cubicle furniture.
Right.
If you don't have to wear some sort of protective footwear, are you really in construction? Maybe. Okay, I'm not trying to bag on you folks. Sell me. Send me messages and John messages saying, sell. But I don't believe that you can consider yourself in installation, certainly.
Sure.
Right? But you're not in construction.
No.
If you're at the bar and somebody says, what do you do? I'm in construction. Are you, though?
Right.
So, anyways, not sorry. Because as a Canadian, I've come to realize the last couple of years we say sorry more than people need to hear. Right?
Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. I'm not, but really, though, like, you can't consider yourself construction. Right. And if I'm wrong, call me out. And if you make a valid point, even if I disagree, we'll read it on the air and talk shit about you. So,
all right. Well, I think that pretty much sums it up, man. And I want to take a minute just to tell everybody, thank you again for listening for another week. Jason and I really do appreciate it. And we are moving forward with a few different things. Look for updates, look for Instagram posts. We're going to keep everybody posted as best that we possibly can. Thank you, everybody that has helped us out so far. And other than that, man, is there anything else that you'd like to say for this week?
I wanted to dig in on one last point here. For the people who do listen and do look into some of the stuff we talked about, we talked about the fact there's some great sites to go to where you can see how to choose a work boot. It's easy to look up top 10s. You just have to decide what you believe for the website because the top 10s vary, as we mentioned. Okay. But if you're falling down the internet rabbit hole some evening and you want to have a laugh, search most expensive work boots.
Oh, yeah? Is it a pretty good one?
My friend, let me go through the just very, very, very quickly a few of the top 10 from rarest.org. Okay, so that's rarest.org. What could be the most expensive boots that are still considered work boots. And I didn't even know some of these names were fancy names because I don't buy expensive fucking footwear. The Rick Owens Beetle Bonzo Tractor Boot, which the fact that the name is that long tells you how bougie it is, right? Now, this is a work boot. It's got a safety toe, all leather lining, slightly composite. This boot is $1,350. If I jump down that, they have a brushed calf skin, which I've never heard anything of the sort, referring to people's work boots, with an extra light sole. Those are $1,380. A Dolce & Gabbana. If you've ever listened to any rap or hip hop or R&B music, you've definitely heard Dolce & Gabbana. They have a also brushed calf skin boot. I mean, that's another almost $1,400 for a pair of work boots. If you want to look into it, please do. The Chelsea Boot Company has one for $1,500. It's a slip-on.
What the fuck?
Yeah. The North Face did a collaboration with Gucci.
And it looks like it came off my grandmother's couch.
And it looks like it came out. It looks like a set of curtains, but it has all the specifications of what would be a okay on the job.
That thing is $1,500.
That thing is $1,500 for a pair of work boots.
What the hell?
look up rarest.org, folks, or just search the top 10 most expensive work boots and imagine the
Oh my God.
the engineer or project manager or whoever that came up. Tom Ford has a set of ladies ones that are so high they look like what we would have called back in the day hooker boots for almost $1,800.
They're knee-high boots.
They're knee-high. Denim.
Oh God.
They're hooker boots that we would have called hooker boots with a steel toe and the proper sole, even though it's an elevated sole. Exactly what I said, folks.
Oh, and here's the next one. This is classic. I got to put this one out because for the gaming professional work boot, it's the men's Wolverine.
It's the Halo edition.
Master Chief boot for $2,000. Right. And I will honestly say that actually looks kind of cool. It looks industrial and rugged.
Right.
But it fucking gross.
Right. Now, the one that really struck me, and then we'll let you go here, folks. We appreciate listening for one more time from the job Shirley here. John and I both really appreciate it. One that, if you do look this up, looks like a really simple boot, although for some reason is crazy expensive, which I believe is something about the fact that maybe they're selling these to the government and overcharging them. The Pennsylvania, that you can buy these online now for yourself, the Pennsylvania State Penitentiary's men's work boot, $2,025. And when you look them up, folks, if you have ever seen the movie The Shawshank Redemption, it looks like the boots that all the inmates were wearing in Shawshank for $2,000.
Yep.
Please take a look at this stuff. What you can look at is crazy.
I can't believe it, man. There's a whole list. Like that list will just keep going. Oh my God.
Listen, the problem is, we need to understand that if it's out there to buy, there are certainly people that are buying.
Right.
So.
Right.
Am I missing anything this week? If that was my last little diatribe, folks. I just found some crazy expensive ones. I wanted to bring it up.
Dude, thank you for bringing that up. I'm so happy. Like, you should have shut me down on closing out things.
If you can buy any product, folks, you can buy an overpriced version of it that's bougie as shit. I guess that's what we're coming down to here.
Yep. I'll just take a minute. Just say, take care of your feet. Your body starts at your feet when you're working construction. It goes to your knees, hips, back, neck. Take care of your feet. You'll benefit in the long run.
Yeah, that's what we started out with here. The unsung hero of the workplace. Do a little research. Talk to the people you work with on the job site. It's absolutely worth your time and money to buy a comfortable set of work boots that when you go home at the end of the day, everything doesn't hurt. Because even with a good set, sometimes it's gonna.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to the iShower Afterward podcast again once a week. If you have anything you want to reach out to us, please do. 507-607-ISAW. That's 507-607-4729. And please reach out on socials and check out our website. And if you do want to... If you don't want to check out the website and buy us a beer and help keep this free podcast going, we really appreciate it. John, thank you very much, man. And as always, your work keeps the world working, folks.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.